Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing another episode of the Withering Watchpile. The topic for this week is revenge films. So that is far-reaching on every label ever. I have the three main ones represented here: Criterion, Arrow, and Vinegar Syndrome. But before we go into that, welcome back, Under Nightmare 24.
Thanks, Christian, for having me again. Enjoy the segment, and I look forward to this one. And everyone we do pretty much, I'm pretty much excited for. So.
Yeah, I tried to not do rewatches this time, but one of them I watched back in October when we first were doing the revenge segment, and then I was like, I'll keep this note for whenever we do revenge. And then we finally got around to it, and I was like, yes, I can finally delete these notes after I do them tonight. And the other two I ended up watching because I knew them well enough that I didn't want to do many notes this episode. I don't have 40-minute lectures about the behind-the-scenes history of every single movie. Just one, really. And then my last one, I think I have a lot of notes on, but everyone will know why. And then my middle movie, I have no notes on. Nothing prepared, because I did not care enough to do it. I know the movie well enough.
That's a great memory. The ones I got here are a few years since I watched a couple of them, so they're revisits. One of them was a first-time watch, but I did have to write some notes because I kind of forgot segments as well as scenes, and there's a few supplements I got, but not many. But I think it's a decent amount of information to share. So
yeah, I think
I did have them in order, and I'm ready to go. So.
All right, I think you went first last time. Is that right? Is it my turn?
Yeah, that's correct. It's your turn.
Okay, so my first movie is one that I think I love, and this is of course going from least favorite to favorite. So the fact that my least favorite is a movie I love, it's all movies I love. It's one that I feel like is a little long, but what I did today is let me find it. Toshiya Fujita's Lady Snowblood with Meiko Kaji.
Nice.
I did this movie. The story is awesome. I'll just read it from the back because there's no better way to summarize it. A young woman trained from childhood as an assassin and hell-bent on revenge for heinous crimes committed against her family, hacks and slashes her way to gory satisfaction in turn of the 20th century Japan. That's basically the movie. We get background info about her mom and when she got raped, and her dad, who isn't a single dad. It's like 100 men who are her father, because they had like 100-person like rape on Meiko Kaji's character's mom. And so I guess I'll go into the behind the scenes because there is a lot going on that I did not know was going on about this movie. So first is from 1973, so the golden era of Japanese revenge flicks. The author of the original character is because it was Lady Snowblood was originally a manga series, which is like Japanese comic books that have a lot of samurai stuff going on. I'm trying to think of any manga that we both would know. Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, manga like that. But he got the idea by combining the Japanese name for Snow White, which is Shirayuki Hime, and the Buddhist path of life, Shira, meaning Asura, which is a philosophy about attaining your goals no matter what, even if you have to kill your parents or even kill Buddha himself. She is basically a demon, is how he envisioned her. Is that she's like the conglomeration of hatred and anger that her mom had, along with all the seeds that her 100 fathers gave to her mom. And that's how she's so badass, is that she did a lot of training, of course, but she's also like possessed by a demon. And this was not known to me while watching the movie. They kind of talk about it like, oh, she has the ferociousness of a demon. But in reality, she is actually possessed by a demon. At least that's how the comic book artist had her. And he's also the same creator of the Lone Wolf and Cub books that were also adapted, but with Shintaro Katsu's brother, who was Zatuichi. His brother, who played the villain in the second movie, I think, is Lone Wolf and Cub, as we all know. But he was so tired of writing male characters that he was like, fuck it. I'm gonna do a female one and make her awesome. And so he had been watching the Female Prisoner 701 series, which Meiko Kaji was the lead in, which I hope to watch soon. She had just finished that entire series, and he was like, I want her. She's sexy. She's a great actress. She became a national cult figure, like right before filming for this. And the screenwriter for the movie said that he got drunk with the original author of the manga, and they just talked about like what he wanted them to focus on, and talked about life in general, and this, that, and the other, because they really wanted to kind of be in sync with each other. And so they were like, okay, how about we look at the transition from the samurai and warring aspects of the Edo period, which is like before 1890, I believe, and let's instead focus on the modernization of Japan during the Meiji era, where Japan went imperial, where instead of having all the different clans and families and that, they switched to an emperor. Originally, Kenji Fukasaku, Battles Without Honor fame, that series, wanted to direct the movie. And the guy that they ended up with was like, nah, I want to direct it. And they got in a big fight, which wasn't actually a fight. They were like, no, I want to be director. No, I do. And they have a laugh about it on the supplements, talking about how, like, the guy who did Battles Without Honor really wanted to direct the movie, because that's such a him movie. From what I know of Battles Without Honor, is that's Yakuza, like, gangs and revenge and all of that. But he let the new director go and do it instead. But one of the characters in the second movie, which I didn't really watch, I watched the supplements on it, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to watch this. Because even though everyone involved in the movie didn't want to make it. So I was like, I'll skip it. I'll watch the supplements. But one of the characters is actually played by Juzo Itami, who did Tampopo. He's the director of Tampopo. He got assassinated after making Tampopo because he made like a goofy representation of like a mob or something, or he had like debt with the Yakuza, and so he got assassinated. It's really bizarre. It kind of comes out of nowhere in the Tampopo documentary. But the director of this movie went on to make Stray Cat Rock movies, which also feature Meiko Kaji. And that box set's from Arrow, and it is absolutely amazing. I love all of the movies. The second one's okay, but everything else is like so much fun. But the blood is abundance, or abound in this movie. There's so much blood. There are body parts falling off everywhere. This movie's a lot of fun. Great revenge story. They shouldn't have made any sequels, in my opinion. The artist of the original story said that it's the perfect adaptation. He loves the movie, so he was really excited to see exactly what he loved about his own series brought to life. So, yeah, that's my first movie.
It's interesting because you were saying like about the demon character in her. I was already thinking Lone Wolf and Cub. Like it's similar. He calls himself a demon throughout the film and says,
Hmm.
I'm walking through hell or whatever, and it struck me right away when like Lone Wolf and Cub.
He
And
basically,
I know you're
yeah,
not a Tarantino fan, but I know he did a lot from this film, like copied a lot, like he usually does, and a lot of scenery from Kill Bill was probably inspired by this film.
yeah, no, it was taken because that's kind of his most famous one of him just taking. And he did invite Meiko Kaji because now she's a singer, I think. I try to find her music, but I can't. I think it's only available on Japanese streaming. I don't know. But she actually did the main theme song for the Kill Bill movie. So he at least tried to kind of give back to the people he was stealing from. I don't have a big opinion but of him, but to go back
Mhm.
on the Lone Wolf and Cub connection, that's basically all he did. He had already written Lone Wolf and Cub and was doing stuff with that, and he was so sick of having the badass male warrior. He was like, okay, I'm gonna make Lone Wolf and Cub, but make her a woman. Like, I'm so tired of this. And then ended up being one of the biggest series of all time, and he stopped making Lone Wolf and Cub and started doing a bunch of Lady Snowblood. And he talks about how they were able to take the story of the six giant volumes he'd done and was able to compress it into one movie. So this movie is like an hour and a half, maybe 97 minutes, and it's like six different novels of this character that the movie adapts, which I had no idea about.
And you said it was based off a comic book or like a
Yeah,
novel, or what did you say there on the
it's
series?
called
Yeah.
a manga. It's basically a comic book, but usually longer and more, I guess, vulgar.
Because that snow scene where it's copied, huh, from Kill Bill,
Hmm.
where it has like the blood in the snow in that fight. That's all Lady Snowblood. But
I haven't seen Kill Bill since it first came out, so.
yeah, it's got a lot into it. I mean, it even has copies of Bruce Lee from the outfit from Game of Death and all that.
Yeah, that's true.
Has a lot of stuff taken
He
from
takes a
different
lot,
films.
and he doesn't credit. Except for that
Yeah.
movie, because everyone watched that movie, and they were like, hey, this is Lady Snowblood. He was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, gosh, I couldn't play it off. But yeah, do you want to go on to yours now?
I could go into my first film here, and I'm going from worst to best here. So I'm gonna start off with this film. It's Avenged. That glare
Ooh.
always gets in the way, but it's a 2013 kind of horror revenge film. I mean, they compared this film to I Spit on Your Grave, but not as good. It's lower budget definitely, and but this film about a deaf girl, mute, that's taking a road trip to see her boyfriend who's African American. There's a lot of racial tension in this film, and she goes through the New Mexico desert, so I got pretty psyched because that's my state. So I looked it up, but it's filmed in Los Angeles, California, but I guess they just put like a New Mexico setting on it. But she's going on that desert highway, and she runs across these two Native Americans running. One's being shot, and as she runs into them, she runs into this like white supremacist racist gang of like hillbillies, and they pretty much assault her. I mean, it's brutal. It's a brutal film, not for everyone. They pretty much sodomize her and tie her up with barbed wire, and you know it's it's pretty brutal. It's not a scene, and pretty much leave her for dead. And she manages to no, they find her body. They bury it in the desert, and she pretty much is by a shaman, like a Native American shaman, and he takes her to his place, and he's trying to bring her back to life, but at the same time, I guess she passes away. Little minor spoiler alert,
Oh.
but as he does this, old Apache warrior spirit gets inside her, and it's evil. I mean, it
Ooh.
hell bent on revenge, so it kind of goes into her body. She's brought back and goes on that revenge twist, and it's like pretty much her lifeless corpse walking around. It's pretty cool because you get like maggots coming out of her arms. You see them in her body, and she's like screaming. She realizes I'm dead. This ain't me. It's just my corpse walking around. But she has functions of her and the spirit. They take control of her body, and I mean, there's some pretty brutal kills. You got a guy where his intestines are ripped out, and she's
Ooh.
carrying him like a rope. And then you got like a awesome chainsaw scene where they're fighting with a chainsaw, and she's pretty much indestructible. I mean, she gets a chainsaw to her stomach, and she's still moving around. You're like, man, it's pretty brutal film. There is some CGI in this film, but it's not awful and interrupt with the film or anything. But some scenes are outrageous. There's like some stuff where she gets hit by a car and does a flip. I'm like, that's not possible. but she's, but other than that, man, this is a pretty solid one and unheard of. It's a very rare to have a bootleg because it's not really on DVD or Blu-ray. It's very hard to find.
Oh
But
wow.
it gives a good twist. I mean, you got a love story which is pretty touching. You feel it from the actors, the love they have during the film. And then I did look at the supplement, an interview with the actress who plays Zoe. She's the deaf girl that comes back, and she says that she had to train martial arts for this film. She had to learn martial arts from an actual instructor,
Hmm.
and she had to also learn archery because she in this
Ooh.
film she goes like in the Native American way. She has a bow and arrow. She's shooting it, and she said she had to practice in her own apartment because she didn't have no room or anything. So she had to put like a area, and she had to borrow it off the set bow and arrow set till she got it. It's it's really interesting her training method. She said she was put through a lot of hell, some beatings and martial arts to get that role right. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It's one of my favorite revenge films. It was my I think believe my third watch on it.
Wow.
I just like it because it's more brutal. Like you got the gore. There's a lot of racial stuff said through this film that's ridiculous, but other than that, it's an enjoyable film. I would recommend it. Um, that's pretty much all I got on this film.
Nice.
I would recommend it.
I'm definitely a
That's
I Spit on Your Grave fan, so sounds promising.
Yeah, it's not done as well as I Spit on Your Grave, but the I think the director was inspired by that film. I could see it.
The rape revenge genre. There are enough movies with all those tropes that there's a genre
Yeah,
based off of it.
yeah. It's it's a unique one. I would watch it alone for the gore, just for the gore ride.
Hmm. Well, shall I go on to my next one?
Yeah, I'm all done there. No more to say. So.
All right, so my next one is one I've seen a bunch of times, but it was recently in history that I realized or found out that it was never released uncut for a very long time until like 2013. And the movie I'm talking about is a Paul Verhoeven movie from 19. I had it like just a second ago. 1987. Okay. And I'm talking about the amazing movie called Robocop. I stretched
Nice.
it. This is the movie I watched today. I took no notes on, so I will go from my brain. Basically, a police officer takes on a new partner. They go to like a gang little hideout, and it's ruled by one of the head honchos of a gang that they've been trying to get forever, and he gets caught. There's a cop, while his partner woman is kind of sneaking about looking for like a place to, I guess, catch them unawares. But they kind of unleash on him, completely shred him apart, shoot his hand off with the shotgun, and then shoots his entire arm off, and then just load into him, and all the glorious squibs go off, and it is awesome. We get an awesome scene at a board meeting where they're showing off the new like Robocop tech that they're doing, and there's a malfunction, and it shoots into this one guy so much that he just becomes like jelly. And apparently that's like the main scene that they cut out from the theatrical cut, because it was so bloody, that scene, that they took it out, and it was lost forever. It has really awful quality for however many years, and then Arrow finally brought it back and I guess restored all of the footage. But you can still kind of tell when the uncut footage comes on, because it gets pretty scratchy on the screen, or has lots of scratches, so, or damage to the film. But there's a lot of Twin Peak actors in this movie. The first one is Ray Wise, who plays our main character's dad in Twin Peaks. He is amazing in that show, but that's in the 90s. So before he was in Twin Peaks, he was in Robocop as one of the gangsters. I forgot his name, but he is killed somehow. The little gasoline burned man is like choking on his own like bent lungs, and is like hanging on that one guy after being burned almost to death before getting hit by a car. And Ray Wise is the guy. He's like, help me, help me. And then the other Twin Peaks actor that is in this movie is Miguel Ferrer, who died just before filming for Twin Peaks Season 2. But he's the business owner of the Robocop company that they take the body of this cop and retrofit, I guess, his entire body with like robot parts so he can become a Robocop. This movie's awesome. Everybody loves this for good reason. It's awesome. Yeah. A million rip-offs came out, and none of them reached anywhere close to this movie. So that is my second choice, is Robocop. I don't need notes because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. I'd buy that for $1. I love that.
I keep sending gifs of that to coworkers and stuff, and they're like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's RoboCop."
Yeah, I love this film, man. I just watched Steel and Lace from Vinegar Syndrome. That's a hardcore B movie ripoff of RoboCop, man.
It looked awesome.
It's good. It's fun, man. It's just it's inspired by RoboCop so much. I saw so much from RoboCop on that film.
Yeah, it is interesting because the
With great gore too. Has
Yeah.
gore in it.
the entire premise of RoboCop is that the police force is privatized and lets like capitalists buy out the police, and the entire movie is like a commentary on how like we shouldn't do that because we have the most violent, chaos-minded people who are at the top of the chain for like these big corporations. And as we can see from Miguel Ferrer's character, he's the, I guess, the opposition from where we start off at. He doesn't really care how many people that Robocops can make or can kill. He's just like, come on, we'll just put bigger guns on it so it's more effective and this and the other. And it's like they don't really care. They'll just make a lot of money, like having all these super robots keeping crime down. So it's a fun commentary on that. All of Paul Verhoeven's movies do that. Starship Troopers makes fun of like
Nice.
colonialism, with how the bugs are actually not the aggressors; it's humans. And every
It's humans.
older character in Starship Troopers is horribly scarred and missing body parts and all that. And they're like, "Come on, keep fighting. Eventually, we'll win." And it's like this entire like propaganda machine in Starship Troopers. And by the end of the movie, all of our great
I need to see
characters.
that one. I've never seen that film.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I guess I won't talk about the end. I was about to spoil it, but it's
It's
awesome.
true though. It's a, they're like, get the money, fuck the casualties. We're getting
Yeah.
paid. So that all you got to say on the film, or you got some more?
No, that's all. As I
That's
said, I
all.
didn't write any notes on this. I just rewatched it like before we went live. Well, I guess filming. And I was like, yeah, I
I,
don't need
I
notes.
love that film. Yes. Should I get into my second film here?
It's all yours.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with a. I guess I'm on a kind of rapey revenge film here because I picked another one here. So I'm gonna go with 1972's Last House on the
Ooh,
Left.
that's the edition I have.
Um, this is definitely in the video nasties. It was banned in the UK, and I'm gonna get into the film real quick. It's about two teenagers, Maudie and Phyllis. They head to the city for a concert to watch a group Blood Rush, and then after the concert, I like that name, Blood Rush. It's so cool. And then they after the concert, they end up going to look for drugs in the city. They're like in New York, and they're meanwhile there's these convicts that have escaped. One's a serial rapist, a they have just the worst of the worst in this bunch hiding out in the city. They run into them and pretty much get tricked into being told they have drugs like pot. So they go in there and right away they're trapped with these people. And it takes no time to start with the right off the top. There's torture and rape between this bunch, and they're pretty much held captive as like sex slaves and told to do all this disturbing stuff. They're thrown in the trunk of their car, taken to the woods, and you got the parents who just realize, their daughter hasn't showed up. She's one of the they say she's like one of the most beautiful girls there. That she's real innocent, and all that's taken from her from this bunch. And it's pretty much the parents trying to find out, where's my daughter? She's missing. And cops, you got these two goofy cops. One's played by Martin Kove, who's from the Cobra Kai Karate Kid. He's John
Ooh.
Kreese, but he's a young one in this film, and he's just so one of the worst cops you could ever have. He's just, I mean, they run out of, they're looking, they pass these guys in the forest like a couple times, and then they realize it was the car, and then when they finally get to go, they run out of gas. He put gas in the car, so they're pretty much walking in the middle of the woods, I guess, hitchhiking, and people are throwing them fingers. Cops, they're not going to respect cops. And and in this version, it's the uncut version. I watched the unrated, which it's about a 4 minute difference. There's not much from the original cut, but what I was reading is it does show a carving, a stabbing with a switchblade on the victim. Um, her name's Mari, and he carves like a number in her chest. I guess that was the uncut scene, and it shows the knife going through her chest, implanting it. I guess it's a code from their group or something. Uh, I guess that's the main difference. There's not much, but you have these girls. I mean, I don't want to get into go to their downfall, say, and it ends up with at the parents' house. And I mean, they're fed, they're pampered, all this by the parents not knowing, and sooner or later they catch on. They see a chain of their daughter on one of those criminals, and they realize they had something to do with it. So they fight. They pretty much. This is where I got confused because they find the victim Madi, but I guess she dies on the scene. I'm told she was still alive, and then she. That's the one I didn't understand died or not, but they end up wanting revenge to the parents. So it's a pretty cool revenge story because I'm setting up like booby traps throughout the house with shaving cream, and you got wires on their door, and there's one of the most awesome but disturbing scenes, I'd say, when the mom seduces one of the guys for a blowjob. You take it by the lake and pretty much cheering on that scene, but at the same way, like, man, she actually had his penis in her mouth, man. So it's like, you're like,
I thought
it's
bites
gross,
it
but
off.
then it's like a satisfying revenge. She freaking bites it off and spits it out right there. It doesn't show, but you can like see the spit. But yeah, it's satisfying. But on the extras, I read an essay on it, and this film's based on the story or novel, The Virgin Spring,
Oh yeah, that's
which
a
was
Ingmar Bergman.
supposedly based on a true incident that happened. And this film, like I said, it was banned in the UK. It was put on the video nasties list pretty much automatically. And I guess Wes Craven tried to cut scenes out so it wouldn't get the rated X thing, but it still got the rated X. He took the scenes out and they still put it rated X. So he's trying to fight it, I guess, for a little while there. And finally it got put to rated R in the US. But it took a while. It was rated X for a long time. Um there's two cuts, like I said, of the film. You got your theatrical and rated. There's just only a 4 minute difference. You do get a gory time. The rape scenes in this one I thought weren't that bad compared to other films I've seen. Because I mean, it does show them, but like it goes off the camera. It doesn't focus straight on him. Because I've seen films where, man, it's just the camera's on there, and you're like, oh my god, it's like never ending or what. But this one tends to like brush it off, like go somewhere else, which I thought wasn't too brutal. But I love the score of this film. I actually got the soundtrack, and it's actually composed by David Hess, who plays the villain, one of the villains in the film. He's actually a musician, so he did a lot of the songs for this movie as well.
Hmm.
And it's real, how would I say it, 70s hippie-ish. It's in that era where you got that real hippie. I mean, you got these girls like even talking, we got to score some grass. It's probably like how your parents would talk in the 70s. Let's go get some grass, and it has that real 70s, pretty much hippie era to it. But overall, I'm a big fan of this film. I have always been a fan. I won't change my mind. It's falls short from I Spit on Your Grave, but it's still in my top five rape revenge films of all time. But that's pretty much all I got on that film. That's all my notes.
Yeah, there's a essay on the on that edition that talks about how this movie kind of marked the transition period of rubber monsters being the monsters and the villains of the movies to humans are the monsters. And I think that's why it was given an X rating, because it was really the first movie
Oh,
ever that, like, it was people, infecting the, middle class white family for the first time for no good reason. It's not a rubber monster, this, that, and the other. And it's a really great essay on that. It's been a few years since I read it, but it kind of always stuck with me. But, because there was really no movie like this before. I mean, Chainsaw Massacre was another turning point movie. And there's even a documentary on the Return of the Living Dead 1. There's a documentary about the Decade of Darkness, which was the 80s, that followed after kind of the first wave of humans are monsters 70s era with Chainsaw Massacre, this movie, Halloween, all those movies. So, I love the movie also. I have no issues with it. I think I Spit on Your Grave is a lot more gut-wrenching, because that movie is based off an actual event that the director witnessed, where a woman was kind of raped repeatedly in the woods, and then one day he was driving by and she was escaping and ran into his car, and he drove away and helped her out, got her to the police, did that, this, that, and the other, and it like haunted him so much because on movies, rape was never treated seriously. And so for I Spit on Your Grave, he was like, I'm gonna spend an hour of the movie on just the rape, and then an hour on the revenge, and really reveling in the torture and murders of these horrible people. And that movie, of course, is the most infamous rape revenge movie ever, because it was purposely made the most infamous one. Because very few filmmakers know how to deal with rape tastefully, where every time they do it, it's like the sleaze fest and awkward, because you know the actress didn't actually agree to, you know, being touched and this, that, and the other during the scenes. But yeah, I love this movie. I have that same edition. I got it really cheap. That was one of my first arrows, my first limited, definitely, where I used an online shopping store called Mercari, which is like an iPhone app that you can buy like used items.
Yeah.
And one person had it for like $20, and I was like, fuck yeah, because I just seen it on Amazon Prime, and I was like, this movie's great, this is important. So, and then it was later, I think you said that like, that's like an awesome price. I was like, oh, I thought that was just how much those cost.
I think I paid double that price for this, easy.
Yeah, and I look at the limited editions now, and each one's about $45. Like, just automatically.
That's about the price, yeah. Yeah, and there's even a conversation with Wes Craven where he's like, I'm trying to do some other than monsters, because I want to bring like a reality that is a monster. That's us, human people, what we're capable of. And he talks about it, and he's like, this is something that could actually happen, you know what I mean? I want to bring it to the monsters we live in the real world, is how he put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the little
he definitely brought that out.
Got.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on that one. So
alright, well, I can go into my last one. This is one I think I have actually talked about on the channel. It's one I love. It is a director who I have a lot of respect for. Well, not a director, he's more a star. But it's a blaxploitation film. It's one of my favorite. It's one I watch regularly. And it's a Vinegar Syndrome, so I already showed a Criterion and an Arrow, so here's a third one of my favorite company, Vinegar Syndrome. This is 1975's Dolomite. I love this movie. I finally upgraded to the box set, which has all of his films.
I'm so jealous right now.
It is awesome. I love this set. For the longest time, I'm taking them out now. These two movies here, Human Tornado and P.D. Wheatstraw, they were out of print. They have been out of print for a long fucking time. And for years, I was trying to buy it again because I couldn't find them at all. And finally, they announced this box set, and I already had Disco Godfather and Dolomite. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just buy the box set on its own, and then the two standard editions of those movies that I don't have. And so now I'm done. I finally have the whole set.
Nice.
Dolomite is a really fun revenge movie. It really isn't. It's basically about Rudy Ray Moore. He plays Dolomite, who is the baddest pimp in town, as the back says. He's just been released from prison, and he's ready to take revenge on notorious gangster Willie Green, played by very popular actor Derville Martin, who's also the director for this movie. This gangster Willie Green that he's taking revenge on set him up on a phony drug charge and stole his club, the Total Experience. And with the help of his friend Queen Bee, played by Lady Reed, and the band of kung fu fighting vixens, Dolomite takes on every rat soup eating motherfucker in South Central. And that's the movie. It is awesome. It's the most important.
Sounds like a blast.
Well, probably not the most important blaxploitation film, but it's the most interesting because. And it's now time to go into my notes because I have a lot. Basically, Rudy Ray Moore has been around since the 50s or the 40s or something. And he was born in the same city as me, Fort Smith, Arkansas. And at the age of 15, he said, "Fuck it, I hate living here. My grandfather was a slave, or like an indentured servant. And my parents are farmers. I don't want to do this shit. I'm getting out of here." So he left and basically couch surfed from Milwaukee to Cleveland constantly, just attending comedy shows and living whatever life he could without being sent home. And eventually he joined the army and he started actually performing comedy. And he, at one point, memorized one of his friends' entire comedy bit, which was kind of like a rapping type of thing before rapping was even a thing. And ended up that everyone liked him. And so he started full-time being a comedian. And eventually got hired on at Dolphin Records, where soul music and R&B like kind of originated and got the heaviest distribution. Because before then, you kind of just had to distribute all your records yourself as a R&B and soul artist. And Rudy Ray Moore ended up being a DJ at this store, where he would run records of the hour, where he would play one record every hour and kind of talk about why it's awesome and significant. And he would do it by the window so people could walk by and see, the DJ doing his thing. And while he was there, he met a lot of different artists who came by to discuss the records, like Sam Cooke and Aretha Franklin and many others, which I didn't know, so I didn't write down the names. He almost got his start in singing when the owner of the store, John Dolphin, he's actually a huge historical figure in terms of R&B. He had a bunch of networks to different studios, and Rudy was just about to send him a new rap album, I guess, back in the 70s. But then John Dolphin got fucking murdered, and so that fell through for Rudy Ray Moore. Couldn't become a singer, so he became kind of the record store owner. And one of his friends had a character named Dolomite that he would play, where he would just kind of monologue and talk about his day as Dolomite, who is a bad pimp motherfucker who doesn't take no shit. And that friend ended up getting hit on the road or something. He was crossing the street and a Greyhound bus hit him and killed him like instantly.
Oh, wow.
And Rudy Ray Moore was like, "I'm gonna keep my friend's image going. I'm going to be Dolomite." And so he memorized all the little quirks and storylines that his friend made about Dolomite, and he started recording albums as Dolomite and just kind of releasing them. and became this huge underground hit. Although they talk about this in the documentary. It's actually a really long documentary, but they split it up for each of these 4 releases in this box set. But they talk about at one point, Rudy Ray Moore, he recorded a bunch of interviews before his death, kind of about all his movies. He talks about how one magazine got a copy of the record and rated it, and they were like, this is disgusting, this is obscene, this is vulgar. And everybody wanted to know why it was so vulgar, because this magazine had never used such words. So everyone got really into it. Rudy Ray Moore made so much money from that first record that he made another record. And then just started touring the country, doing tours and comedy shows and doing whatever. And he raised about $100,000 and got the writer Richard Jones to help him write a script for his first movie, which was going to be like a kung fu, like Bruce Lee movie. And the writer talks about how when he was working with Rudy Ray Moore, he was like, there's no point to writing any dialogue scenes for Rudy Ray Moore. He's just going to make it up on the spot anyways and be himself. Like, don't write dialogue for Rudy Ray Moore. It's a waste of effort. But do everyone else's. That's what he would always say. But the director, Derville Montan, he was a big actor back then. He was in Rosemary's Baby. He was the elevator guy. And he's in a bunch of other different movies that I haven't seen. But he hated the movie. He thought the movie was a total joke. He hated working with Rudy Ray Moore. Would, heckle him every step of the way. And Rudy Ray Moore is in his 50s by the time he's making this movie. And he talks about how discouraged he was making the movie because the director was just talking shit about it the whole time. Everybody on the crew were college students at the local film school because they needed a job, and Rudy Ray Moore would pay anybody that he could to be in his movie. Lady Reed, who is played by, who plays Queen Bee, the character, she's a wonderful collaborator of Rudy Ray Moore, and she used to be like a groupie for him when he went on tour. And there's a great Netflix movie called Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy and Blade. I forgot his name. But the guy who plays Blade, he's in the movie too, and there's a great segment that is ripped right...
Wesley Snipes?
Wesley Snipes, yeah. He's in it.
Yeah.
And it just came out 2 or 3 years ago. But there's a great part in that movie where they kind of explain the filming of Dolomite and Petey Wheatstraw, where they kind of combine it into one movie for the Eddie Murphy movie. And there's a great part where they, during the documentary, where Lady Reed kind of talks about how, Rudy Ray Moore kind of saved her from poverty and this, that, and the other. And they turn that entire little memory that she talks about in the documentary into a scene for that movie. And so it's a lot of fun to watch that. But it ended up going super over budget. Rudy Ray Moore on the interview was like, oh yeah, it cost $80,000. We saved some money. And then they asked everybody else on the movie, and they're like, no, it was $140,000. And it was all Rudy Ray Moore's personal money. So he took a huge gamble doing this movie. And it ended up being this huge fucking deal. At the time, he owned an entire floor of an apartment, so that's where they did most of the filming. And it's out in the middle of the city where people were doing drive-bys and shooting up drugs, so you get to see all that on screen. But he didn't even want to go to the theater when the movie was first released because he was so bummed out because the director was just constantly like, "Oh, you're wasting your money. Like, why are you doing this?" And like, this movie's shit, and this, that, and the other. And Rudy Ray Moore was like, "I got the last laugh because Lady Reed convinced me to go to my first showing." And it ended up being this huge fucking deal, packed theater, and it was like that all over the country, and he was just touring back and forth. And then he ended up making 3 more movies after this. The Human Tornado, Petey Wheatstraw, and Disco Godfather. Disco Godfather is my favorite one. That one, I think, is his most realized. It's all about the drug pandemic with, I guess, cocaine and meth. And kind of has a whole commentary about the police selling drugs to low-income black neighborhoods in order to purposely set them up and addicted to drugs so that they could arrest them if they don't, like, pay them behind the table or whatever, or under the table, and all that stuff. But, try and see. It's really funny because there's a special feature on the Vinegar Syndrome that's actually another cut of the movie called the Boom Mic Edition, where because they had total amateurs on this movie, they didn't even know what the frame was on the camera, so they were just shooting scenes. And they didn't see any of the footage until weeks and weeks later, and this was like a month-long like shoot. So after like 3 weeks, they finally saw footage, and they realized the boom mic kept coming down every scene, coming at every direction, like this, that, and the other. And so Vinegar Syndrome has the theatrical one where they kind of were able to zoom in a bit and take out all the boom mics. But then they also attached the boom mic edition, which has boom mics coming in every fucking shot because nobody knew what they were doing on screen in terms of like actually making a movie, because they all had like theater students. But I brought another show and tell because there's an actor in this movie who I knew of for years, but I never connected that it was him. The grandfather character in Hack-O-Lantern is played by High Pike, and he is awesome. He is the satanic priest here on the bottom here.
I
don't know if you've seen this movie, but it is awesome. It's released by
seen
Massacre Video. Yeah. But he is also in this movie, Dolomite, as the mayor. And for years, I was like, why do I know these two people? Like, when I saw Hack-O-Lantern, I was like, I know that guy. When I saw Dolomite, I was like, I know that guy. Never connected them. And finally, I looked it up. And he is in this movie about 10 years before, maybe 20 years before Hack-O-Lantern. Because Hack-O-Lantern is 80-something. I'm unsure, but Dolomite is 1978. No, 75, so about 20 years before Hack-O-Lantern, he did Dolomite, and he looks totally different. He's nude in one scene totally. You see his whole body. So if you ever wanted to see him naked, there you go. There's a great disco scene at one point in the movie towards the end that I have a feeling, I need to watch the documentary, but I have a feeling that scene stayed with Rudy Ray Moore because he made an entire movie that was that. Him and the DJ in the club being a DJ and rapping and doing all this stuff. Yeah, this movie's awesome. There's a lot of great lines. I wrote down a few. One is he's talking shit to one of the cops, and he's like, "Shut up, you rat soup eating motherfucker." And this is what the director meant, is that never write down a Rudy Ray Moore line, because he will always find a better line. And he calls another cop, "You know business, bond, insecure, junkyard motherfucker." And he always says it like the most intense way with the word motherfucker, where he'll just start like screaming. And there's another part where a cop is like heckling him and it's like, "Oh, we found drugs in your car, but he took it out of his own pocket." Rudy Ray Moore says, "Move over and let me pass, or I'm gonna be pulling these hush puppies out of your motherfucking ass." And that scene is pretty awesome. And then my favorite one, which Eddie Murphy has a whole scene about, and Dolomite is my name, where he's trying to practice this very famous line, which is, "Dolomite is my name, and fucking up motherfuckers is my game." And he says that in like the climax of the movie, and everyone cheers, and it's awesome. So I love Dolomite. This is probably the 10th time I've seen it. I rewatch it regularly. I can't wait to finally watch the final 2 movies that I haven't seen, because they've been out of print forever and very hard to find. And as much as I love Rudy Ray Moore, I don't want to buy each movie for $40. It was maybe $40 for the rest of the box set, including the actual box set. So Rudy Ray Moore's a national treasure, and also a city treasure for me. Although he said "fuck Arkansas" and got the fuck out the moment he could even drive.
I'm definitely gonna be adding those to my watch list because I haven't seen too much blaxploitation films. I want to get into that because I'm a fan of all that stuff. But Dolomite's right in my alley. I think right up my alley. I'm gonna look out for that one as well as Disco Godfather. I want to get into that. So hopefully I can pick up that box set. I'm still eyeing it. So
Yeah, that box set, the last I looked, was like at like 900 and something, I think. I would have to look, but that's a required box set in my opinion. I love that box set. And it's not even like anything new. All they did was take the 4
how are the
standard
soundtracks? Are they pretty
editions.
cool? Is the
Huh?
music cool in the films?
Oh yeah, music's awesome. It's not as awesome as
Cool.
Really Dynamite, which is another really fun blaxploitation. We should have a blaxploitation episode.
Because
But
I watched Jackie Brown, and that had like some blaxploitation love in it. I really like the soundtrack to that film.
oh yeah, that's the one movie I heard that even if you don't like Tarantino, that's one I hear is really good.
Yeah, it has a great homage to blaxploitation films in that one. It has Pam Grier in it too.
The box set's $90 right now. That's like $20 each. There are 364 left. Gotta get on that.
I better move on it.
Wow, it dropped 600 since the last time I saw it. The essential movies, and I've only seen half of them. So,
Nice. I'm gonna look into that genre more.
I'm just packaging it up. So, if you want to go and do your last one, I guess that's your turn.
Okay. Let's get into my last one. This one's my first time watch for me, and it's actually my favorite one out of the bunch. So, if you know me, I'm an action guy. So, it's going to 1986 Murphy's Law.
Ooh.
It's an 88 films edition. It's Charles Bronson. We'll get into the directors. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, and my streak continues. He died in 2002, so I gotta have a dead director all the time. I don't know why. But he directed Guns of Navarone. There you go. He directed Guns of Navarone, which I heard is an awesome film I want to see, from 1961. 10 to Midnight, another Bronson film, which I love. And this is Canon Films, so I'm a fan of those. That's the cheesy action company from the 80s. But this film's about, we got a cop, Jack Murphy, played by Bronson. He's that tough cop. I mean, he's taking down all these bad guys, and he pretty much arrests pretty much a psychotic killer Her name's Joanne. She's played by Carrie. I can't say her name. Snodgrass. I hope I said that right. But he put her behind bars years ago, and I guess she was like a psychotic killer. And she's released from like this mental asylum, pretty much, and she wants revenge. So she pretty much sets up Jack Murphy, played by Bronson. He's separated from his wife, and this is why I love these type of films because his wife's a stripper. So they go to like strip clubs. His ex-wife. They go to the strip
Oh.
clubs. You go to that nasty, gritty stuff in the city that I like. So it's Bronson's an alcoholic in this film. He's never got over his ex-wife, and he's pretty much drinking a lot. He's a mess. I mean, there's a time he walks in the office and he has stains all over his shirt. And these cops are teasing him. This guy has it out for him, a cop there, and he punches him right in the mouth and lays him out. So it's it's a pretty satisfying scene. But anyways, let's get back to his wife. She's a ex-wife. She's murdered, and her new boyfriend, and it's pretty much framed on Bronson, on Jack Murphy. Um, so he's arrested, taken into custody, and he ends up teaming up with this criminal. She's a girl. What was her name? She came out in Kathleen Wilhoit. She came out in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and she's this pretty much tough, kind of petty criminal thief. And she's always saying these awkward profanity in this movie. It's like real weird. Like she calls him sperm breath. She calls him throughout the film, and just bad words. And they end up getting arrested together. They're handcuffed together. Of course, he escapes. He's trying to clean up his name because he wants to find out who set him up for this murder. So they go on pretty much the run. There's a lot of fun action in this film. You got helicopter crashes, shootouts. It's pretty bloody. You have blood spraying throughout this film, the gunshots. You got pot farms, marijuana farms with thugs, and Bronson's knocking them out and shooting them with high-tech weaponry. It's just a good duel. They have so much good chemistry together. As Bronson and her from Roadhouse there, and of course he's trying to protect her. There's this tough. There's a mafia involved that's after him as well. So it's a twist between, is the mafia trying to kill him, or is it this girl, this murderer that's escaped? And she plays a great job because there's a lot of pretty intense kills. You got the awesome cheesy one-liners, and it's just a fun time. I love the action, the cheese, all that, and it leads to a pretty satisfying ending. You got one of the sayings I put here was where the villain tells Bronson, she's a female, of course, "I'll see you in hell," and he like hits her, and he's pretty much ladies first. He tells her, like, it's just got those one line cheese that you get from these '80s films. But overall, I'm gonna say this is gonna be in my Bronson films top 5. I am a huge fan of Charles Bronson, and I thought this one was a fun one and a different approach for Bronson. Like they have that comedy aspect, like you see in Rush Hour with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, how they have that chemistry. And it's interesting to see Bronson because he's not like the serious guy, but then you'll see him smirk and do something comedic in a way, I'd say. But yeah, this was my favorite, and it was a surprise to me. I'm gonna put my top 5 Bronson films for sure.
Awesome. I was about
And
to
that's
do
pretty much all I got to
Death
say on
Wish.
this.
That would have been funny if we both had a John Charles Bronson film.
Yeah, because we had a King Kong Godzilla
Yeah.
on our monster one. But yeah, I'd recommend this, especially if you like films like Rush Hour. It's probably like Rush Hour before Rush Hour in a way.
Buddy cop.
Yeah, like buddy cop partner film, and except this one's not cops. One's a cop and one's a criminal, and then they're both criminals on the run. It's real different.
Well, awesome. I just realized I never shared the beer that I
That's all I
had.
got.
Not to interrupt,
Oh,
so
man.
want to delay.
No, go for it.
Uh, there's a thing that Rudy Ray Moore says a lot, where he says like, "Down in the jungle below, there lived a tiger in its little hole," and like does a big like monologue rapping thing. But one of the lines is about a monkey. So I got Tot Monkey beer.
Nice.
I've never heard of this before. I was kind of desperate, looking for any connection to these movies I had at my local grocery store in the beer section. And I was like, oh, there's a line about a monkey and his little rap and Dolomite. There we go. So I just grabbed it. It's okay.
There you go.
It's pretty citrusy, which is
All right.
weird, but
Oh, wow. Awesome. I never heard of that one. I'll have my beers for next week for sure. I just slacked this week, but I'll be back.
yep. I did mine last minute. I could have found something, but my debit card got frozen too, so.
Gosh. But yeah, pretty good films we got there. They're pretty interesting.
Yeah, all of mine were rewatches, so I felt bad about that, but I mean, whatever. It's a short episode. I realize it's not even an hour long. But I guess the next theme.
My only first time watch was.
What was that?
I think we're on a delay.
Yeah, it's really lagging now.
I think we're on a delay right now. Gonna sound staticky. Could be my internet. My internet right now. So.
But I was gonna say that I guess now since you chose the last theme of revenge, it's my turn, and since it's Black History Month, I thought it'd be good if we did a black directors or a film with a black director, a non-white, preferably African American, so it's with the American holiday of Black History Month. I don't know how many I have, but I know I have a lot. I know I can dig into the blaxploitation genre a lot with this one. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun for us to kind of celebrate the holiday. So.
I think that's a great idea and topic, and I have a few films of that, and I'm pretty excited to do it because I do have some I could come up with. They're pretty good, decent amount as I look at my collection, but I think that goes perfect with this month for it being Black History Month.
Yep. Okay, well, that'll be our theme. I guess that's it. This was a really short episode. We were very concise this time.
Was it? We didn't go on an Ichi rant or anything like that, so it went through smooth.
An hour-long diversion. But thank you for joining again. It's always fun.
And thanks for having me, Christian. This is always a blast, and I look forward to future episodes as well.